All right, so for this kitchen video, I'm going to show you guys a couple of things, and I'll have in the description in the video like shortcuts to different areas of the video. So if you're looking for a specific thing, how to get there, and then I'll link to another video on how to make like a custom countertop if like the countertops in Revit aren't working for you. So a couple of things I'm going to show you is how to add these interior elevations so that you can view things a little easier. So if I look at this, I can see my kitchen straight on. I'll also show you how to adjust the cabinets so that you can create your own custom cabinet size like you would need for a small cabinet like this above a microwave over a range. I'll also show you if you want like a peninsula with bar seating. So like, I probably also have cabinets all along here, but if you want like a peninsula with bar seating, you can kind of see here how to make that. I'll show you guys how to do these things. I'm going to clear out all of my stuff and kind of start from a scratch or a plain slate here. Okay, so here I am in my little example house here is going to be the corner where the kitchen is going to go. So you kind of saw what I had before, and I'm going to kind of recreate that a little bit here. So one thing when you are laying out your kitchen, if you have any corner cabinets, you always want to start with those because those you can't really adjust the size to all. They kind of come in that standard size. So if you have to insert load family, and that is under casework is where we find cabinets, and it's a base cabinet. So the corner angled, I think that's our only one. If you click on these, you can kind of see a little preview on the right. So there is our angled corner cabinet. I already have mine loaded in, I believe. So base cabinet corner unit. So I can grab this and plop this in. So this one is pretty easy to tell like which is the front because of that little angle marking. So I'm going to put it in there, and it looks like it's going into the wall, and that's just because these lines are thick. There is a way to make the lines thinner, but for our purposes here, it's okay if it looks like it's going into that solid black line a little bit. So I'm going to plop one there, and then I know I'm going to do another one down here to kind of make like a U shape here. So I'm going to rotate with the space bar till I get it positioned right, and I'll just put it way down there because I can move it later, but this will save me some time from pulling it up again. All right, so then I'm going to grab a 4-drawer cabinet. So I already have some of these loaded in here. I'm going to go with 24 just to start with that. So one thing to know about when you're placing your cabinets that you might not realize is that this cursor, this little plus sign, is actually along the back of the cabinet. So to make sure you're placing it in correctly, I would want it to look like this, and then I can bring my cabinet in. Maybe I want another one there if I want. So you can kind of start figuring out where you're going to put stuff. So maybe I'm thinking I'm going to put a range there, maybe my sink or the fridge. Maybe I'll put a sink in the corner. I can kind of start figuring stuff out. Maybe I'll put the fridge over here, range, sink. So let me go grab my range. So I already have it loaded. Our kitchen stuff is under specialty equipment. And it does give you 2 different sizes, 30 or 36. 30-inch is like the classic, typical size that you'd find in a normal kitchen. So especially for like our Habitat for Humanity houses, you'd have a 30-inch. 36 is kind of specialty, so 30-inch. I'm going to bring that in and put it right next to that cabinet. Yeah, I'll move this one over. All right, so next I'm going to pretend I have all my cabinets in. I'm going to move to my wall cabinets. So for wall cabinets, I don't think I have a corner one in here yet. Let's corner unit wall tall. We'll try that. We'll see what that looks like in here. All right, so there is that wall cabinet, and I'm going to put in a couple more across here so that we can see what we're dealing with. All right, so obviously these are not lining up right now, but we're going to look at this from that interior elevation view. So to make that, you're going to go to View, Elevation, and then over here is where we can choose interior elevation, and it is a round little circle instead of the pointy square shape. So I'm going to point it right in there. Then if I hit the escape key twice, then I can double click on this black area and it pulls in my kitchen here. So when you're making your kitchen, normally our cabinets all line up above each other. So like really like this one should line up with that one down there. This one I'm going to end up making my shorter one that goes above my microwave, and I'll make it wider. And then this one would line up with that cabinet. So we always want them to line up vertically with the ones below it. And then also the bottoms of cabinets, like you don't want some cabinets down here, some cabinets up there. That doesn't look visually appealing. So you always want to make sure they're lined up as well. So we would probably put in one tiny little cabinet in here because our corner one is not as big as our lower cabinet corner. So we'd probably add in like a small, like 15-inch or something. You can play with that. Oh, and this one, it actually is like tall, goes the whole length. Interesting. I didn't know what that one looked like. So to modify this cabinet though, to make it fit above our microwave, so we're going to go into Edit Type. So just like how we've edited walls and floors and things like that, we can edit things about this cabinet. So I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm just going to call this short cabinet for now. We'll probably rename it once we get some of our measurements in here. So obviously some of the things that we are going to want to change is the height. So I'm going to do 15 inches and see what that looks like. And the width obviously needs to get a little bit wider because our microwave and our range were both 30 inches. I'm going to do that at 30 inches. And you can see that I just typed in the inches and it converted it over to feet and inches. So let's hit OK and let's see. Oh, and it is behind our cabinet or behind our microwave. So I can move this back up here. And that actually looks pretty darn good. You can use your arrow keys also to move things around a little bit easier. So like I was saying, with the cabinet should all line up. With the microwave, that's probably the one exception, is that because of the microwave and like the hood vent underneath, typically it's not going to get lined up, but you don't want like your microwave way too low. That's actually what happened at my house. The people that redid our kitchen before we bought it, they didn't mount the microwave high enough, and so it's really hard to get some of our bigger stock pots on our stove. So you want to make sure it is pretty high so that there's room to actually use the stovetop. So that's how you make this modified cabinet. And you might need to do that for other places too, but you just go into Edit Type. Make sure I'm on my cabinet. Edit Type, you duplicate it, and you can change the depth, the height, where the top of the cabinet is, the width. So I can make sure that all of the top of my cabinets are at 7 feet, so that when I go in there, they all line up. So another thing that might make it easier for you guys to see what you're doing in like this elevation view and your top view, your floor plan, is tiling these windows. So if you go into View, you can do Tile Views, and then it places them side by side. So then you can see what you are doing in one and see what happens right in the other. So I could add a little cabinet there, but that is kind of the basics of getting that started. So next I'm going to show you how to make like a peninsula or like bar seating across here. So I just added a couple more cabinets just to give us something to kind of reference off of. So we're going to make a half wall here on the back side of these cabinets. So I'm going to go to architecture and wall, and I'm just going to use my smaller wall because I don't think I'm going to have any plumbing in here. And I'm going to draw my wall across. So, and since I already had my cabinets, it kind of snapped right to the end of them, so it's nice and flush. Maybe the end here is where there would be a fridge. I actually don't have a fridge in here yet, but something that you have to think about. So there is my wall, but if I pan over, so we can't see it in this elevation view at all, really. So we're going to make a new elevation view. So again, I'm going to go to View, Elevation. I'm on Interior, and let's look at it that way. Hit Escape to close out of that. Double click on the black area. So I can see that my wall is a full height wall, which that's not going to work if we want to have bar seating there. So I'm going to bring this down. So then in our properties, we can choose how big we want it. So instead of going up to the second floor like all my other first floor walls are doing, I'm going to do unconnected. And I'm going to see what 3 feet 6 inches looks like. That looks okay. So we'd still have to add a countertop. And then usually with seating like this, you'd have still some space for like where your backsplash would be, to like the decorative part of your walls. It actually looks like it was really inside my cabinets. So I want some space here for the countertop and then a backsplash if I were to add that in. So I'm going to do 3 feet 6 inches. That looks pretty good to me. So next we need to add our countertop. So I'm going to go back to my tile view here. So for this countertop, I'm going to use the countertop island. So it's just a big rectangle. Oops. So I'm going to bring that in, and I'm just going to place it kind of where it's going to go. Escape to close out twice, and I'm going to drag this to be that whole length of that wall. So now with this, obviously what we have right now is too low and it's too big. So let's first change this offset. So this offset is going to change how much higher it goes. Let's see what 5 inches does. Almost. Let's do 5.5. There we go. That looks pretty good. So now there's too much of an overhang on both sides. So I'm going to bring it in a little bit, make it a little smaller, and I'm going to actually use my measurement tool. So typically for bar seating, you're going to want at least 12 inches of overhang from the front of the wall to the edge of the cabinet. So if I try and dimension that, so the edge of the countertop, it's only snapping to the middle of the wall, but that's okay. We know how to change that with this little clicking the little dot. There we go. So the front of the wall to the edge of the countertop. And we want that to be at least 12 inches. All right, so now for how much it hangs off the back side, let's see if we measure our countertop again. So it has a whole extra foot there. So let's try, let's see what 18 inches looks like. And I didn't lock that first one in. I'm going to lock that 12 inches in because I know I want to keep that. That's still at 18. So that looks pretty good. There's a little bit of an overhang, so like where there would be a backsplash, at least the 12 inches for stools or seating or people to stand there to have room. And that is how you do that little bar top Peninsula seating. So another thing I want to show you guys is how to do a custom countertop. So especially like if you have like your sink in a corner, there is no countertops in here in Revit that works with that. So if we go to countertops, we have countertop with sink, that's just plain, with sinkhole, with sink. So making sure like sinkhole is just a hole, you still have to put a sink in it. Island with sinkhole, island, L-shaped. So there's some here, but sometimes it might not fit with what you have going on. So below in the description is a video I found that this guy explains really, really well how to use what is called, the component model in place. So you'll actually be designing a new component, a new thing in Revit, being our countertop, and be able to use that. And you can probably use it for a couple other things in your project too. So make sure you check out that video. And there might be a couple more little videos that I add in later for like making your kitchen look pretty and things like that. Check out our 3D view here. So my kitchen still has a lot of work to do in here, but making sure you're taking advantage of using these different views, 3D, the elevation, so you can see what you're making, that it all lays out good. With cabinets, making sure you're doing like a variety of cabinets. I just did all these 4-drawer because that's just what I had loaded for my example here, but doing some different cabinets. You think about like where are pots and pans gonna go, where are silverware, where is dishes, spices, pantry stuff. So thinking about all of that with your kitchen.